Today, I want to talk to you about something deeply personal and incredible transformational. And I'm going to call it the journey within. More specifically, it's more about sharing three mindsets that helped me break out stronger and fearless over the years. And I'm hoping that it's going to do the very same thing for you. But first, before I do, I want to ground who I am and why this matters so much to me and hopefully you by the end. Who am I? I'm Tanya Gossage. I'm a business growth strategist, an AI consultant, a podcaster. I'm also a strategic networker. I connect people through introductions and referrals, and I help business owners grow and scale their businesses. Now, how do I do that? I do that by hosting just about 16 events a month through what I call referral power hours, masterminds, connection exchange events where entrepreneurs come together, small business owners, CEOs, and they're able to share all about their business, who their ideal clients are, who they're looking for as referral partners, and their strategic relationships. And then in addition to that, I help my clients, people just like you, fix the operational and visibility and delegation gaps that keep you stuck in your business. I help you stop being the bottleneck or help them be in the bottleneck so that you can start working on the revenue producing activities like networking, building relationships that actually grow your business instead of drowning in admin and operations. Okay, but before any of that, I was a terrified girl who couldn't speak. I was the girl who couldn't speak in front of a class. So let me take you back to my high school days. As I said, I was scared to speak. I would take a zero rather than get in front of a classroom of students. I could not even say my name without trembling. I promise you, I couldn't do it. People think today, how could that be? Well, it was. And so now let's fast forward a few years. Into my banking, I was leading product launches, managing 22 direct reports, facilitating multi-million dollar mergers and acquisitions at the executive level of a multi-million dollar company. Now, so how did I get from there to where I am today? Because the real journey, it wasn't external. The real journey was from within. It was here and it was here. And for those of you that are listening audibly, I was pointing to my head and I was pointing to my heart. And if you're ready to break out stronger and fearless, it has to start with your mind, with your mindset. And so let me give you a quick snapshot. I rose from switchboard operator and new accounts representative to director and executive vice president. I built entire departments from the ground up. I led 15 bank acquisitions in 17 years. I don't say this to boast. Trust me. Today, I mentor CEOs and business owners to lead like real executives. I say that because there is a way to get from where you want to be, from where you are, to where you want to be. And it all started with this card. This card is old. It's dated February the 6th, 1991. I have kept this all these years. And this little card, commitment card or goal card, whatever you want to call it, it changed everything for me. And I'll come back to this here in just a minute. But I spent 34 years in corporate banking and leadership launching technology, building teams, and growing leaders from the inside out. The other day, I went to a retirement party of somebody that was on my team many years ago. She made me feel so good because the minute I walked in, everybody started screaming because I had not stepped foot in my old corporate company going on 8 years. They all started screaming. And the lady who was retiring after like 30 years said, "Come here." And she said, "This woman right here, I remember the very day that she said to me," she called her name and she said, "What are your goals? Where do you want to be?" And she said, "I don't know." And I said to her, it was so amazing. And it almost brings tears to my eyes right now that she remembered all of this. But she said, "I don't know." And I said to her, "Well, you need to take some time to think about it and you need to write it down. Write it down and you need to put it in your desk drawer." Those were the very words. I've got chills going down from the top of my head. I feel them in my head to my legs. And she said that Tanya said to me, "You need to write them down and you need to put them in your drawer and you need to look at them every morning and every night." I cannot tell you how many people I've told that to, but she remembered it all these years later. And she said, "You need to visualize it and you need to dress the part, live the part, act the part, and be the part." Those are the very words I say all the time. And she said, "And I remember the day that I walked into her office and I said, 'I now know what I want to do.'" And she said, Tanya looked up at me and said, "What is it?" And she pointed at me and she said, "I want your job." And she said, I said to her, "Sit down right here and let me tell you how to get it." And I mentored her and told her what she needed to do to go after my job. Do you know how good that made me feel? Her branch lobby was full of people and she told everybody that story. I would give anything had I had that on video to this day of her telling that story. She lived that story every single day. And do you know when she reached out to me and told me that she was having her retirement party? She said to me in Facebook Messenger, "I am retiring on this day, and the very thing that would make my day special," I'm going to cry, "the very thing that would make my day special if you showed up." And I said to her, "I will be there. If I can be there, I will be there." And I'll tell you, I had a connection exchange meeting that day, one of my networking meetings, and it was hard for me not to show up for my people in my networking meeting, but to not be there for her too. So I had to find someone that could lead my networking meeting. So I called it, I logged in so that somebody else could host it, and then logged out, took my laptop on the road and did that so that I could be there for her. And I have to tell you, that was the greatest day for me, was to walk in and hear her tell that story of how I grew leaders from the inside out. And I still, that is my passion to this day, is to help people become leaders and SEOs of their companies. And so I help leaders build systems that scale and lead from clarity, not chaos. Oh, I tell you, they call me the CEO growth strategist for a reason. I love this role for a reason. But first, let's talk about 3 popular solutions people turn to when their mindset is breaking down and why they don't work. 3 mindsets that break down, okay? Myth number 1 is hustle harder. I did that. I ran 3 departments at one time back in the day. I ran operations, I ran training, and then I ran fraud and security. That was one department into one. I worked early mornings. I worked late nights. I felt like I worked around the clock. I'd go home and sleep a few hours and be right back. I did work more for less. I know you've heard that term. Let's do more for less. We did that. I did that. But I'll never forget the day that I was walking across the street and I said to myself, what if I walk across the street to my vehicle at lunch? And I remember thinking, if I stepped into this traffic right now, maybe everything would stop. Yes, I did. But that was not drama. People, listen to me. That was not drama. That was burnout. That was burnout that was breaking me down. And I remember one evening telling my husband about how I was feeling, and he was shocked. And he said to me, Tanya, we have to get you help. We have to get you help. And I did. I went to see a doctor, and I was having anxiety so much. The attacks were so intense that I couldn't breathe at times. They put me on anxiety medication just so that I could function. Eventually, I had to make a decision, and I secretly took my insurance exam. I was going to quit. I passed and I got my insurance license, and I turned in my resignation. And I'll never forget what happened. When I turned in that resignation, I got a call from the CEO, from the president and the CEO. And the CEO said, we're not accepting this. Not going to happen. And I remember saying, I didn't know that was an option. I didn't know somebody couldn't accept a resignation. But he said, that's not going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to clear your calendar and you're going to come to headquarters, which was 2 hours away. And you're going to make a list of everything that's pushed you to this point. And I did. And that conversation and the courage to ask for help, it literally changed everything. I want you to know that they fixed all 6 pages. All 6 pages. I want you to listen to me for a minute. It was not the hustle that saved me. It was not the hustle. Honesty. Honesty is what saved me. You hear me? Honesty. That's what saved me. Myth number 2, fake it till you make it. Have you ever said that? Have you ever told someone to do that? Fake it till you make it. When our company launched a new checking account product during my growing up, my mentoring, my growing up, my growth strategy, my growth stages of growing in the company, the president picked me to lead that rollout. I smiled, nervous as a cat. I said yes, but inside I was panicked. I was frantic. I couldn't believe that I did it. And he told me, you can do it and you will do it. I did. I scared to death. I did. So I faked confidence until I built confidence for real. I learned every detail. I learned every click that it took. I learned every feature, every single one of them. And then one day, training day came. I was so nervous. I remember I said, I can't stand up. I'm so weak. He said to me, the president said, you can sit in the circle right here with us. It's okay. I'll be right here with you. If you need me, I'm right here. I remember I trained the team step by step. Everything they needed to know, every click, everything. When it was over, I'll never forget it like it's happening right now. Everybody clapped for me. He came to me afterwards and he said, you nailed it. You did it. He was so proud of me. I was so proud of me. But more importantly, you know what happened? I knew something. I knew that I had just stepped into something bigger than fear. That day didn't just build confidence, it built a calling in me. It built something big inside of me. It built that calling that I knew that I knew that I knew that I was going to do something bigger. And myth number 3, success requires sacrifice. That's a myth. We built our 4,000 square foot dream home. There where we lived, there where I worked. We customized it with everything we wanted. We thought that was going to be our last home. Guess what happened? 30 days after we moved in, 30 days, I got a promotion 2 hours away at headquarters. So guess what? I moved alone into a tiny apartment during the week. My husband stayed home in our dream house. I came home on weekends. I remember, just like yesterday, staring at the beige walls thinking, is this what success looks like in that apartment complex that I was living in during the week? My dream home on the weekend. Is this what success looks like? Sometimes the hardest part of chasing your dream is realizing what you're giving up to catch it. We eventually, years later, sold the home. But guess what? Today, we're building a new dream home, a lakefront home more beautiful than that first home. Because when you don't give up, you don't lose. You evolve. That's right. You evolve when you do not give up. But here is the solution that I want you to understand. It's a mindset shift. It's a mindset shift. When you visualize things, you become it. This right here, this card from 1991 was my vision contract. It was the contract between me and what was happening later. I wrote down my goals right here. I wrote them down. I typed them out. I read them every single morning and I read them every single night before I left work. I saw myself in that role. I visualized myself as that executive and that director, EVP of retail banking and training. I saw myself before the title ever appeared on my nameplate. And here was a quote that I stood upon. If you can't see it in your mind, you'll never hold it in your hand. I had to see it. I had to see myself there. I had to take action. And here's what I want you to do is I want you to take action. It's the beginning of 2026. Most of you are writing your goals down. You're trying to figure out what they are. You're working on your vision board. I just helped 3 clients. Just on New Year's Day, we worked in my co-working space. We worked on our vision boards. I helped them work on their vision board. That's what I want you to do is take one action. And I want you to write out your commitment card. What are your goals for 2026? What are your first quarter goals? What are your next monthly goals? I want you to read them every morning and every night. I want you to visualize the version of who you want to be or who you are already going to be. You know, the young lady that retired, she came into my office and she said, I know, I want your job. Do you know what one of these are on here? It says, I'm unable to put this on paper right now. You know why I was unable to put it on paper? Because I wanted my boss's job and he was going to read this. And I could not tell him I wanted his job. But you know what eventually happened not long after this? He got terminated. And guess who got his job? I did. I saw myself day after day after day doing his job. I saw myself in his office, coming out and talking to the people in the department, having conversations with them, being their boss. She saw herself doing that, and she eventually became a boss. And then she was another boss, and she retired as a boss. She retired as a leader. That is where it all starts. Mindset shift number 2 is you have to fear forward. In 2024, I've started having phrases of the year rather than words of the year. And in 2024, for me, it was get comfortable being uncomfortable, jumping off of that fear bridge. And I've learned that as I jump off that fear bridge, things get easier. I've learned I'm not going to die. I've learned I'm not going to die. For a long time, I was scared to death to get in a helicopter. Scared to death. And then I had an opportunity to go to Grant Cardone's office and fly in Grant Cardone's helicopter. Do you know what? I've been in multiple helicopters since I was in Grant Cardone's helicopter. I am no longer afraid of helicopters. I've taken my granddaughter in a helicopter. I've taken her best friend in a helicopter. And now when I have an opportunity on vacation, I go up in a helicopter. We've gotten out of that helicopter and we've gotten in line and done it again. I love helicopters now, but that was one of my biggest fears. Heights are a fear to me. Heights are a fear to me, but I do my best to fear forward. What is your greatest fear? Fear will always show up, but so can you. I had a fear to do my very first podcast. And so I said, instead of doing a podcast, let me do a training. When I showed up to do a training, I learned I wasn't going to die. So I did another one, and I did another one, and I did another one. And then I had one of my coaches say, Tonya, how can you do more? I said, I know how. One April, I did a podcast every single day for 30 days. I showed up and I did a podcast every single day for 30 days. Then after that, I said, I've got it. I can now do it. And I've been doing it ever since. I think I have 400 and some odd podcasts now. That's how you do it. You fear forward. That very first training for me terrified me, but I said, yes, I faced it. I flourished. And I knew that day I wanted to be a trainer. I knew that day I was going to become a trainer. Guess what I did? Not only did I become a trainer, I led the training department. I created a mentor program, not just myself, but with my team. When I left, I had 22 trainers plus hundreds that went out and trained. I trained hundreds of mentors that went out and helped us train through acquisitions and conversions. I flourished. Fear is a mile wide and paper thin. Your next breakthrough may be hiding behind fear that you have been avoiding. Mindset shift number 3, rewrite the rules. You rewrite the rules. As someone who takes action, there is a personality behavior of action. Action people, they don't like rules. They rewrite the rules. I love rewriting rules. I was once told, we can't promote you. You know why they couldn't promote me? You probably have heard this on another podcast. You know why we can't promote you? Because there is no one in position to take your place. Oh no. Oh no, don't tell me that. That's not going to happen. I had a vision. I was in charge of operations at that point in time, along with many others. Training, fraud and security, others. Don't tell me you can't promote me. That's not going to happen. I'm going somewhere. So you know what happened? Excellence became my prison. No. That weekend, I built a delegation strategy. That's what I do for CEOs today. Don't hold yourself hostage. You need a delegation strategy. I spent that weekend coming up with, how can I delegate? I needed a strategy. I wasn't going to be held in prison. I wasn't going to be held hostage. I'm going to the next step. I taught my team how we were going to grow and why it mattered that we grew. Not only could I grow, but neither could they if I didn't do something about it. So why did it matter? We needed a plan. We needed a strategy. But by the time I left my corporate role, this was a few years later, I trained many mentors. We did a lot between then and by the time I left. But by the time I left, I had 22 people, as I told you, and every single one of them knew bits and pieces about my job. And many of them, if given the opportunity, could have replaced me in my role. They didn't need me. I had people in position that could have replaced me. You know what? You don't rise. You don't rise by holding on to everything. You rise by raising other people. You hire people better than you. You raise people by delegating. You raise people by getting out and doing the thing. I didn't wait to be ready. I decided to be willing. Wasn't going to hold me prisoner. No way, no way, no way. And already this year, I gave my team a goal before 2025 ended. I gave them a Q3 goal. This morning, I raised that goal by 3 times. Yes, I did. And you know what they said to me? We can do it. We can do it. Yes, we can do it. These 3 shifts were just the beginning. We're just the beginning. Today, I help clients turn burnout into brilliance, fear into clarity, and potential into real powerful profit through referral, strategic delegation, and AI that supports growth. Let me tell you, you can do anything that you set your mind to. Anything. You have to start here. You have to understand you can do it. So let me ask you, where could you be? Where could you be 90 days from now if you stopped doubting yourself and started leading like the future version of you? When I left that home 30 days in, I thought I was chasing success. But what I was really chasing was fulfillment. Yes, I thought I was chasing success, but I was really chasing fulfillment. I wake up now aligned on purpose and fully in ownership of my life. Here's what I know now. You don't have to trade your values for your vision. You don't. But you do have to lead yourself. You do. And you have to act like and lead like the CEO of your own life. That's what you have to do. The real journey begins here, and it has to start with 3 shifts. You have to make 3 shifts. You have to visualize it. You have to fear forward. Jump off that fear bridge. You can't let that fear keep you backwards. And you have to rewrite the rules. Understand? I want you to know that these are not inspirational ideas, okay? They're practical levers, and you can use them to shape your next chapter. Whether your goals are 12 months out, they're 4 months out, they're 5 years into the future, they're next week. Your outcome begins and depends upon the version of you who shows up Who shows up to pursue them? If your goal is 1 year away, visualize it until your vision holds you. If your goal is 2 years away, veer forward and walk toward that thing that you've been avoiding. If your goal spans 5 years, rewrite the rules. I want you to delegate, build systems, and develop leaders. There's some small shifts that took me from a girl afraid to speak her name to an executive leading teams, divisions, and acquisitions, and to that work that I do today. So here's my final question for you. Who do you need to become over the next 1, 2, or even 5 years? And which mindset shift do you need to activate first to break out stronger and fearless? Which one? Your vision, you have to know this. I've seen it happen to me. I've seen it happen to others because I mentored them. The person I told you about earlier, who told her whole branch, full of people, customers, people she worked with, her own employees, she told them. She told them her vision, and it happened. And your vision, it's not out of reach. It's waiting for the version of you who is willing to step out, who is willing to step out. When you are committed to these shifts, you don't just hit your goals. You transform to the leader behind them. Did you get that? You transform to the leader behind them. I know. I've helped people do it. I became that person. I am no longer that girl scared to death in front of the classroom. I am no longer the girl scared to train. I am no longer the girl afraid to get into the helicopter. I am no longer the girl afraid to do a podcast. I am here in front of you, asking you to transform your mindset, to visualize, to fear forward, and to become that next version of you. Thank you.